Some people like having photos taken of them, and some people avoid it like the plague. Would you force your child to have photos taken of them if they never really wanted to? Let's talk about it. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole? Now, if you love today's bloody good content, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, and get ready for some spicy content. Let's go. Am I the arsehole for telling my daughter that it's her fault she has no pictures of herself? Okay, so I, 54 female, have 5 kids. 3 bio, 2 step. The issue is with my eldest, Clem, who is 26 female. The only pictures I have of Clem are from the day she was born to around her 8th birthday, but none after that. She would ruin any picture she was in by making funny faces, hiding from the camera, making weird signs with her hands, or by messing with other people. It was like this until she was 12, when she started to straight up refuse. We would tell her to come for the family photo, but she would refuse. We never forced her, but would gently encourage her. She even refused school pictures. I have no pictures of birthdays, graduations, prom photos, holidays, or days out with her in them. It broke my heart because I don't have any pictures of her growing up. Family photos look odd because she's not in them. Clem is 26 now and is pregnant with her first child. She brought her significant other over for dinner, and after, we were looking at photo albums. We got to hers, and she saw hers was nearly empty. She asked where all her pictures were, and I told her she refused to have any taken. She got all teary-eyed and told me to stop joking, and at this point, I'm very annoyed. I tell her I'm not joking and that she did this to herself. I told her if she had swallowed her pride and had even one picture, we wouldn't be like this today. She got angry and thought that I'd printed out the ones she'd messed up. She got super upset and went to sit in the car. The next day, today, I got a few texts from family members calling me an arsehole for putting her on blast and humiliating her. Am I the arsehole? And edit, thank you for all your replies. I do want to clear some things up. Whilst I agree that it was a crappy move not to include goofy or rude pictures, that's not what Clem has an issue with. She's upset that I have no pictures of her from age 12 to 18 to fill the album with, and the few I do have caused extreme reactions from Clem. I can't fill an album with pictures I never took. That's what she's upset about, not the omission of goofy and rude photos. Edit 2, to those of you who are saying who cares about rude gestures or goofy faces, I didn't realize this needed saying, but the family photos weren't just for me. They were for everyone involved. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents on all sides, etc. I can guarantee none of them want an 8-year-old making the eat out gesture in what is meant to be their nice family photo. And edit 3, it's kind of sad to see how many people assume that because a child has anxiety, I berate them whenever they mess around when taking a photo. I never yelled at Clem for making silly faces. I would simply encourage her to stop and smile. But her rude gestures and faces would ramp up. But I guess that's what you expect on this sub. Everyone hates their kids. No, I think everyone just hates everyone on this sub a lot of the time, so you get some interesting perspectives, that's for sure. I don't think you're particularly in the wrong in this situation, but I do think you should have saved those goofy photos even if you didn't print them out, or if you did print them out, just keep them somewhere that the family isn't going to see, just so that would have been a memento to you. But obviously, we can't go and change the past, and you probably can't get those photos back, so what's done is done. I don't really think you're the asshole for this situation, though you could have been nicer about it. Now in the comments, individual ad 9213 says, not the asshole, but why not just give her the old negatives that you did not print so that she can see for herself? And OP replies, that's a good idea. They're on my computer, so it's not like I deleted all the photos of her. The issue was that she made some rude gestures or poses in many of them, which I'm obviously not comfortable putting on the wall. She does know that she messed up pictures with her gestures and poses, and she obviously can't forget about her aversions to cameras, so I don't know why she was so surprised. I think it would be a nice gesture if you made her a little album of all of them, even if they're ridiculous. It's not that there are no pictures, it is that there are no traditionally nice pictures. They still show her at various ages and show how she was. I was the same way growing up and also have very few. The ones that exist are silly, but I love them. And OP says, I agree, I'll do that. And if the flipping off gesture bothers you, you can always Photoshop where her hand is. I don't know. I would say leave them untouched. There's a reason the pictures aren't displayed. Leave the rude gestures and poses in place so there is no question why they aren't displayed. I agree on leaving them untouched. It might help drive home that, hey, this is why we didn't print all of these. It wasn't malicious. Info. How is this just now coming up? Are you saying that there are family photos hanging in your home that don't include your daughter? Is she really just looking at this photo album for the first time at 26 years old? And OP replies, yes. None of the family photos include my daughter, unless they were taken before she turned 8. And yes and no. We would bring them out at Christmas and stuff, but she would always cringe, say she didn't care, and then went to her room. I've told her previously that her album is pretty scarce, but I guess she wasn't always aware to this scale. Thank you for answering my questions, not the arsehole. Well, it seems odd that she didn't somehow know that there were no photos of her after she spent the better part of her childhood refusing to be photographed. Did she ever tell you why she refused to be photographed? And OP replies, no. She never said, and I never pried. She would just disappear when a camera came out. Her wedding is coming up soon, so I wonder how she'll deal with that. Save money on a photographer? If it gets to a point where she can comfortably joke about it, the couple could make photo shoots with the husband posing alone. Not the arsehole. I hate having my picture taken, and I look awkward in all the photos taken of me. But I now, at 22, have realized the consequences of my actions, and I try really hard to get pictures of myself. I used to have long hair to my knees, and it's now above my shoulders. I have no photos of my long hair because I would pin it back or shy away from the camera. You were damned if you did and damned if you didn't in this situation. If you placed a screaming, crying child in front of the camera, she would basically never trust you. And now you have a crying adult asking you why you respected her wishes. And OP replies, that's what's so confusing to me. I could have easily made her take part in every shoot, no matter how she was feeling, panic attacks be damned. But that's awful. That's going to mess her up psychologically. Now that the time has passed and I respected her wishes, I'm the bad guy for not forcing her to take them. You did the right thing. She's emotional about it because she's pregnant and doesn't have anything to show her child and family. And now on to the update. So it's been less than a week because I wanted to make amends ASAP, so I printed off all the pictures and put them in the album. They didn't fill it, but I made a spread on one of the pages that said, "Go make new memories," with a picture of her and her fiancé. I put a lot of work into making it look cute. I called her and asked to talk. She arrived and we had a long discussion. I asked if she had any trauma or self-esteem issues, in a more tactful way, obviously, and she said no. She simply did not like having her photo taken and adopted the behavior of screeching and kicking to avoid photos. She said she had anxiety and that's why she had panic attacks, but that it was mostly because she was gassing herself up, if that makes sense. I knew she had anxiety, but not that she gassed herself up, if that makes sense. By the way, gassing herself up are her words, not mine. Regarding her visit, or the one that kicked things off, she explained that she was embarrassed by her behavior, and even more so when it was exposed to her fiancé. She said she didn't quite realize how much time she had lost, and that it was a very emotional time for her. I apologized for my wording during our spat, and we both made up. I even showed her the post, and we read the comments together. We had quite a laugh at all the armchair psychologists and internet detectives that claimed just because she knew a sexual gesture as a child, she was in danger. Some people were writing borderline fan fiction and rewriting my entire history with my daughter based on one post. Now that's talent. After a little bit of talking, I brought out the album and gave it to her. She was happy, and she seemed to take responsibility over the fact that she refused to have pictures taken. I told her I had printed out the candid ones from when she was 12 to 18 and asked if she wanted them. She said no. She really liked the page with her and her fiancé, which made me super happy. So that's that. You might find this hard to believe, but other than this incident, which we are working through, we have a very good relationship. Now in the comments, Zenevia says, "Sounds like a good resolution, and I hope she's handled her anxiety so she's able to make those new photos she wants." Totally agree. It's a positive and healthy ending, and it's amazing what sitting down and communicating can accomplish. Of course, it also sounds like one of these situations people just needed some time to reflect on that wasn't best handled in the moment. In this case, her embarrassment around her fiancé, which hopefully they can talk about too. Some people just take bad pictures. It's just something about having the camera lens in front of them. They simply cannot remain normal. I think they feel like they need to perform in some way. My mother-in-law is one of them. She just cannot stand and smile for a picture. She'll almost always have her eyes closed or a strange look on her face. She wants to take a good picture, but something just keeps it from happening. My brother is like this. Since he was a kid, he's 38 now, pretty much every time his eyes would be closed. It was pretty much a guarantee. I told my wedding photographer how hard it was, and he said no worries. I only need one with them open and I can fix all the others. And he did a good job. I feel like this is one of the rare cases where a Reddit post makes a difference in someone's life. As someone with anxiety, I get why taking pictures would be something to freak out over. I did think it was weird that she knew the eat out sign at 8 years old, but I taught some kids aged 10 and 11 who did way worse crap than that. I'm really glad it ended well. People always seem to forget that kids can know and not know things. Kids can see someone do that gesture in a movie, understand it got a big reaction, and not know it's an oral sex reference. Or, even if they know what that refers to, not really understand what eating out and oral sex even is. Our next post is by user BigNo1547, titled, "Am I the asshole for refusing to tell my dad that I'm buying a house until after I have moved in?" To start off, I, now 31 female, moved out of my dad's home when I was 14. He had anger issues, and me moving out and refusing to come back was his rock bottom, and he got the help that he needed. I was lucky, and a family member took me in, and I slowly let him back in my life. Back 12 years or so, I was fresh out of high school, but had an awesome paying job and inheritance from my grandparents. I decided I wanted to buy a house near the local college so that I could get a degree and get an even better job. The house I found was 4 beds, 3 baths, and listed for under $100,000, and had just been updated. It was after the 2008 bubble burst, so the deal was really good. I went through the pre-approval process and put in an offer. Before I heard back, I showed my dad the house. I already lived alone, having moved out of the family member's house, but wanted to share my happiness and thought that he would be happy for me. I was horribly wrong. He berated me for over an hour, the highlights being, I was dumb to think I could handle owning a house at 19. I didn't know how to own a house because I was too young. I didn't need such a big place because it was only me. Roommates would destroy the place. Maintenance would just cost too much, and I would eventually end up with a foreclosure on my record. So even though my offer was accepted, I walked away and regretted it deeply for years. I used to periodically check how much the house was worth, but stopped in 2016 because I decided I was obsessing and it was unhealthy, but the house was worth over $400,000. I thought I'd let go of the negative feelings, but it seems house hunting has brought them back up. I can't help thinking how much easier buying our new home would be if I had that house to sell for a down payment. My husband knows the story and supports me not telling my dad, and even agrees. Then I was talking to one of my aunts and told her about the house we now have under contract. I also asked her not to tell my dad. When she asked why, I explained and she told me, well, if your father didn't burn all his bridges and would act like the adult he thinks he is, he would be left out of this kind of thing. Turns out they're not talking right now because he demanded money from her. She offered to pay him to do some basic chores since he doesn't have a job right now, but he claimed he was too busy and just wanted money. I have also heard his side of this since he called me to complain about her. He, however, left out the part where she offered to pay him to help her. While I agree that he's acting like an entitled asshole, I'm wondering if my aunt is agreeing with me because she's mad at him for the way he treated her. She definitely has every right to be mad, especially considering he's sent some really nasty texts. But I also know the fallout from him not finding out about the house until after we've moved in will be unpleasant, to say the least. So I'm now questioning if I might be acting like the asshole. Personally, I feel like if it's the right judgment call in this situation and your gut is telling you to leave him out because of how he's acted in the past and how he's continued to act towards you in the years since that incident 12 years ago, like, you've had a whole lifetime, you've had more than a decade of, being with him in that time. There's a lot of experiences, obviously, you can't recount, and if it's a net negative and you feel like he's just going to bring more negativity into your life, especially during the process of this contract, it's okay to have anxiety about that because it's happened once, it may happen again, who knows? I can't blame you for feeling the way you feel, and I'm going to say not the asshole. Now in the comments, Lumpy Space Stay says, not the asshole. Sounds like your dad never got out of rock bottom in the first place. Just curious, if you were so fearful that, at 31 years old, your father would berate you for buying a house, why are you still in contact with him? And OP replies, I try to keep things to shallow conversation with him and live nearly a day's drive away, so don't have to see him very often. I think maybe I'm just not ready to cut him out completely. There's a small part of me that just wants my dad to love and respect me, but I'm coming to terms with the fact that he probably never will. Grieving the potential of a relationship is the hardest part of cutting someone out of your life. You hang on, hoping one day he will, fill in the blank here, but that day may never come. It's hard to do, but at some point, for your own sake, you will need to let go of hope that he'll meet your needs. Potential and hope is seductive to the people that want it most. It's also hurtful. I hope you're able to find peace with the knowledge that if you haven't gotten it in the last 15 years, you probably will never get it from him. It took me far longer and his eventual death to accept mine never really wanted to be the father that I needed and wanted. Monday Night Freak Ball says, not the asshole. You aren't asking him for a dime. He talked you out of an incredible investment. He sounds like he hasn't recovered from his anger issues very much. And OP replies, I suppose it's a relative perspective thing with his anger. He doesn't yell anymore, and he won't get in my face now, but he will nag and insult and belittle to try to get his way. I deal with that by not giving him that in. Yeah, it sounds to me like he learned to control and manipulate in new ways, rather than changing his behavior. I'd seriously recommend getting as much distance as you can. And OP replies, we do live nearly a day's drive apart now, so that helps. But some of the other comments, as well as yours, are starting to make me think I need to change how I've been dealing with him. Physical distance is super helpful. And yeah, I would consider really cutting down the amount of space you give him in your own life. Not the asshole. Yeah, sounds like your dad will be an asshole whether you tell him or not. Your discussion with your aunt really should make this clear to you. If you tell him beforehand, you run the risk of him attempting to ruin it as well. If you and your husband have done your due diligence, then ignore him and move in first. Also, why are you telling your family members? The more people who know that your dad doesn't know this secret, the more likely for it to work its way to him. And yes, your aunt might not tell him directly, but this is the type of info that someone who you had not told to keep it secret might assume that your dad already knew. So your aunt tells Mystery Person A this info, Mystery Person A asks your dad about it because of that, and your dad then finds out. And OP replies, I was stressed when I talked to her and let slip why. That was a mess up on my part. Though I don't think she will tell anyone since I told her I was trying to keep it a secret until after the appraisal comes back. At that point, it'll be a done deal, even if we aren't living there yet. She has in the past been good at keeping secrets until I want others to know. When I was pregnant, she knew I was having a girl months before anyone else and didn't say a word of it to anyone, not even her friends. No worries then. I was just worried that you were setting yourself up for that shocked fry from Futurama gif. I'm shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked. Good luck working this out. And now on to the update. So we closed on the house late last week and moved in over the weekend. I did not tell him what we were doing until after closing papers were signed and we had keys in hand. Telling my dad went better than I thought it would, but I also didn't word it in a way that would come off as me asking his opinion. I called all my other family members first before calling him. I was just planning to text him, but instead, I called and told him I was sending a text. The text I sent was a link to the house listing. Yes, this means he knows our address, but that at this moment was unavoidable. He asked me when we would be closing and mentioned that he didn't like the location. Before he could say more, I told him we'd just finished signing all the papers and we were taking our first cardboard boxes over. That shut down the conversation, and while he said he was happy for us, I could tell he was unhappy that I either didn't tell him sooner or didn't get his thoughts on the house first. He hung up pretty quickly after that. I'm happy with how I went about this, even if my dad isn't. I know he was going to pick my home apart if I let him, especially since he'd already said that he didn't like the area. He's been mostly silent on the house news, but will text or call about anything else. My husband thinks the way he's been shut down is hilarious. He did the same with his mum, who thinks her grown children should always ask her permission to do anything in life as well. Everyone in our home is happy, and those who aren't don't get a say in it anyway because they don't live there. We've also made strategic use of all the rooms so we don't have a guest room of any kind. I also now have a yarn closet instead of yarn boxes shoved in a corner. Now in the comments, I Choose You Snorlax says, "Perfect. You handled the entire situation brilliantly. Congrats on the new home." And OP replies, "Thank you. Awesome outcome, and I wholeheartedly wish you the joy of having a yarn closet. Now that's goals." Glasgow351 says, "My wife has a rather strained relationship with her father. When we first got married, we bought a small one-bedroom, one-bathroom house. We didn't anticipate having kids, so this arrangement suited us. Her dad griped and complained that it was too small, and took on a dim view about me thinking that this house was all I could afford. Eventually we moved to a larger house, but her dad griped and complained that this one was in a bad part of town. The rooms were laid out weird. Pretty much whatever features it had, he found a reason to complain about it. Now, mind you, he never came over, but whenever he called, he bitched and carried on so. So a few years later, we had a kid and we eventually moved out to the country and bought a big 4-bedroom farmhouse. We didn't tell anyone that we had done so. Only a few select friends and family knew, and we asked them not to tell her dad. We are waiting for him to decide to come visit us at our old place, only to realize we don't live there anymore. It's been going on for almost 12 years now." And OP replies, "I'm hoping to go very low contact, and know if I do it right, I won't lose all my family in the process. Also, it's hilarious that your father-in-law has no idea you've moved or how long ago. Someday there are going to be some very confused people, and I hope they slam the door in his face." Alright guys, that's the end of the video. Friendly reminder that I'm now posting daily on my second channel, Markee 2. If you want to laugh at memes with me, link is down in the description below. On phone, you just click that little arrow underneath the video. I also want to say thank you to all my channel members and Patreon subscribers. Your names are currently floating down the screen here, and I love to see all of you guys. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for supporting me. I really appreciate it. If you see yourself on screen, I want you to give yourself a big pat on the back for being amazing as always, and thank you for supporting me again. I do hope that you guys have a good day, night, sleep, whatever it is you're up to. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.